I mean, obviously someone tried to eat a box.
I've been on this earth for 51 years, and I can say that I have never been tempted to eat the box. You would have to be on some hallucinogenic, powerhouse, mind-tripping drugs to consider opening your mouth and eating the box.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWH Legal. We are situated right now at the high-rise white brick edifice at 530 Frederick Street, Owensboro, Kentucky.
That we are.
And PJ has already chimed in. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. You know, all things considered.
Yeah.
But I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'll survive. I'm still breathing.
You're still breathing. And
when you're a hypochondriac and you're still breathing, that's a good day.
Good day. Good day.
Well, unless the anxiety kicks in and then you have a hard time breathing, and that's not so good. But
we're going to get you through this. At least the next 30 minutes will be safe, PJ. You're
Perfect.
Here with me. Now, personally, I'm hungry, even though I just ate a little bit. I'm hungry. I got to pee, and I had my second vaccination today.
Oh, how did that? That's right.
So I'm like a ticking time bomb. Like, what's going to happen?
Right.
Right? Because I've heard horror stories about the second one.
Yeah.
Now, I've already disproven or put to sleep one concern that that's what I get for eating egg roll before.
Now, just so they know, egg roll without the roll.
Right. It was not deep fried. My wife made a wonderful dish called egg roll, but it's not in an egg roll. It's the filling of an egg roll.
Right.
And it's healthy. It's got turkey. And
smells really good.
Yeah, she did a wonderful job on that. So shout out to Missy for my lunch today. But I've got more in there. I just had time to scarf this down before we.
You can find that recipe and more on fwhlegal.com.
Yes, Missy's a meal prepper. She works on Sundays to prepare our meals for the week. So it's always, sometimes stuff works out wonderfully like this, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's trial and error. But anyway, back to the vaccination.
Yeah.
The one of the things that I had been told is that the second one hurts more, like being administered. Like
really,
it hurts more. In fact, Amy will tell you, who had her second one yesterday, that it hurt a whole lot more going in. I had so one fear is gone, but I had no different. I could not tell you the difference in the way the first one felt or the second one felt going in. In fact, if I was going to say, I remember feeling the medicine going in kind of on the first one. On the second one, I didn't feel it. So I hope that means that we're not going to have any symptoms or anything weird going on.
Now, you had the Moderna?
Moderna.
Okay. See, I did the Pfizer, and I've had my first shot. And the only thing that happened with me was, two things. I got this warm sensation after the injection. Now, I didn't feel the injection at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was, she was a pro. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know it had happened until it was over with. But then, like, 3 days later, I got vertigo.
Right.
It lasted for a few days. And then it pretty much went away. Now, I have noticed that, like, the spot where I got the injection still feels a little bit tender, but I don't know if it's because I've been getting the testosterone injections all these years and it's just scar tissue. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm supposed to get my second shot. Now I'm getting the Pfizer shots.
Right.
And I get my second one supposed to be on Friday, but I'm out of town Friday.
Have you heard anybody say that the second one hurts worse? I
haven't heard that. That was unbeknownst to me.
Yeah, I'd heard it, and then Amy substantiated that yesterday. At least her experience was that it hurt more.
Do you feel anything? How long ago did you get? I mean, I know it was today, but how long ago from this moment?
I've got it. It was administered to me at around 11.
Okay.
So what is it, noon right now?
Yeah, so a little over an hour.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping. I have depositions tomorrow of a medical doctor in a malpractice case that's supposed to be a 4 to 6 hour deposition.
Right.
Holly and I worked to prepare for that deposition, both of us, and I told her to be on deck just in case
right.
I wake up tomorrow and don't feel like going, because that's a deposition you don't want to go into not feeling 100%.
Yeah.
They take so much focus and attention and energy. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But so today's kind of a weird day. We were scheduled to do this podcast this morning at 8:30. We had a guest.
We did.
We had a guest.
Emphasis on did.
Did have a guest. Instead, we're here at noon, and both of us, like rushing our lunch and all that kind of stuff to make the sacrifice for the podcast and for the people that love our podcast.
That's right.
And here we are without a guest. So, I don't know, but I take it kind of personally when somebody gives me their word that they're going to be somewhere at a certain time. And I mean, there's some production that goes into this. We have to get set up for that. And my schedule's been very busy, as has yours, and we've got things going on. And we were all excited. In fact, yesterday afternoon, like at the buzzer, I was saying, "Hey, I need some bio on this person so that I know what to ask her." And I was prepared today. I was prepared to talk to Katie. Yeah, Katie Tursek. Well,
I really don't know. It's either one.
She has a new nickname. It's called No Show. Katie No Show Tursek. Yeah. So I applaud Channel 14, WFIE. They're one of the Evansville news companies that has actually set up some shop here in Owensboro. They're right over, there on the by the bridge, and I think that's great, because I think that we don't really have a local news, like a big local news here in Owensboro.
Not anymore.
And,
definitely.
And they came over and kind of have been here and have a local reporter, and that local reporter is Katie No-Show Tursek. And we were all geared up to interview her. I was excited because I was going to talk to her about her experience at St. Bonaventure University up in New York, and how she covered their basketball team's Cinderella run, and all that. And, that's kind of speaking my love language, and it's March Madness going on right now. So I thought that would be a kind of good way to get going. I was all geared up for that, and noticed that she had worked for a news station out in Montana. Is that right? Did I read that right?
Was it Montana or Minnesota?
No, I think it was Montana.
Was it Montana?
Yeah. And so, I was going to talk to her about that. I mean, that's kind of off the...
Well, I know she's covered some national news as well.
Right.
So I was really interested in hearing about that.
Well, I guess that may be why she no-showed us. I mean, she's important. But the reality is that I got a little bit of information about why she did not show up. She doesn't know that I know this, but we're going to publicize it right here on the old podcast.
So you're getting the breaking story.
Yeah, breaking story on our local reporter from WFIE. Yeah, so the reason, PJ, was not that there was some event going on in Owensboro that required her to be on scene and reporting.
Right.
I got word from my people that, in fact, here's how it was broken to me. Do you want to know the truth, or do you want me to make something up? That's how I was asked the question about why she wasn't here.
Yep.
Now, let's back up. At 8:30 is when we were supposed to be doing the podcast.
Right.
And you and I were in a deep conversation, and I looked down at my phone, interrupted you in the middle of, and I said... And I'm not joking, you guys, when I say deep. It was a very important conversation that PJ and I were having about some personal things. And I said, oh gosh, PJ, I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's 8:41. Where's our guest? And you had a look of, oh my gosh, it's already.
I didn't realize how much time had passed.
Had passed, right? And so here we go. So around 8:50, my people come to me, and they say, "You want the truth on why she's not here, or do you want me to make something up? Well, asking a lawyer who is committed to justice, as we say,
right,
immediately says, well, I want the truth. To which my people tell me she overslept. She overslept. Yeah. So we've all overslept. No judgment there.
It's a human thing to do.
No judgment there. But, I just kind of felt like at that moment I got slapped in the face.
Yeah.
And so, PJ, the question for you and I to hash out here is, should we double down and bring her back? And then say,
give her a chance
to defend herself, due process of law. Or do we say, if you come back, you also have to set us up with another interesting interview, like kind of a penance, so to speak. Like give she talks to some interesting people and covers some interesting stories, and she's really. I can't wait. To maybe talk to her someday. We might want to schedule it at 4 so that she doesn't oversleep. but
well,
I mean, she's, her pastimes, her hobbies, she started a blog for like lifestyle type blog, where she talked about food and exercise and hiking and all kinds. And I thought, what an interesting person. And I'm sure she is. But we're going to have to find out if she's having a problem with her sleep habits.
Yeah. Now, I had caught wind from your people. Well, I guess it's my people too. Real quick, is that a soft drink?
It is a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Isn't that worse than regular
It
soft
may
drinks?
be, but I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's been a rough week.
Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Right? And somebody no-showed me today, and so I fell off the wagon and had a diet soda.
I'm telling you all right now, I cannot begin to even remotely remember the last time I even saw you with a soft drink of any kind.
I am. And then not only is it a soft drink, it is a 44-ounce,
That's true.
gigantic gulp.
The bigger gulp.
From the Ideal Market in Calhoun, Kentucky.
Okay, I was getting ready to say I've never heard of Ideal Market.
No,
but
it's a marathon station in Calhoun, and I stop there all the time. Now, I don't get soft drinks all the time. Sometimes I get tea. But they got the best ice. They got that chewy chip ice,
Like the Huck's has that. That's the kind of I love that kind of ice.
Come to daddy, booty caddy right there.
Well, I saw a funny meme recently that said Dr. Pepper is just barbecue water.
That's probably about right.
I'm not a big Dr. Pepper fan, but I know there's a market for it.
So what did your people tell you?
Oh, so I walked in at the tail end of that phone call. And as soon as they got off the phone with Katie, I said, I'm assuming it's going to be a no-show because, he had a look on his face and he kind of did that move your hand past your neck. It's dead in the water.
Dead in the water.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, did she get caught up on a story or, and he kind of looked at me and he said, yeah, I wish that was the reason why she slept in. And I kind of sat there for a second and I went, man, I wish there was a better reason for why she wasn't going to be here.
Yeah, right?
That was the first thing that went to my mind. But I will say this about your should we have her back question.
Okay.
There was a time where I would have said no because it's unprofessional or it was a waste. It wasted our time and should have been here. You had the opportunity, but you missed the opportunity, not because something else important got in the way, right? But it was just something that you screwed up on, and too bad. Good luck. But I've been having a lot of self-reflection the last 6 months, I would say, and and so now I've started looking at things in a different light, and it's funny because even since the break-in. I made comments to John Bennett, our criminal defense attorney, which, it's his job to help individuals who maybe did not make the best choice if they did indeed do what they're alleged,
with.
right? but to help them get a second chance, and that was something that was very heavily discussed in our last podcast with Harry, that he made a lot of really bad choices, but he got a second chance. And there was a time when I was not against second chances, but I guess I was like far harder and more harsh towards, because the way I look at things is like, I'm able to play by the rules. Now, that's not to say I don't think I'm perfect, and I do make mistakes, but like life-changing mistakes that cause people hurt or harm, like the individuals who broke into my house in 2018. I mean, I told John that they disrupted our life so much, and I saw my own kids going through that trauma. Connor was, the doctors are telling us like Connor's suffering from PTSD from it. I was like, if we catch these people who did it, take them out into the street and shoot them, make an example out of them so nobody else breaks in anybody else's house. Is like, that's where my mind was at. But things have changed since then. So I think
if Katie's listening, we're not, I just want to clarify something real quick. We're not talking about taking her out back and doing some kind of terrible.
Yes, I'm not comparing what she did to someone who broke into my house and caused my children PTSD. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that at one time, the person I was, to me, there wouldn't be much of a gray area. So I may lump those together, but that is not the case now.
Okay.
And even the people who broke into my house, if you're listening, first of all, if you're listening, you probably turned things around, unless you stole what you're listening on. But no, it's like, I mean, they could have been people that just made the wrong choice. They could have been desperate, and they're trying to steal televisions to sell them and get money to feed their children. I don't know what their situation was. So I've tried to look at it from a different perspective. So if I'm going to look at individuals like that, criminals, and say, look, maybe you deserve a second chance, Katie definitely deserves a second chance.
Okay.
And I think John would agree.
So we've gotten a philosophical
that was really way more long-winded
reason
than I anticipated
for the answer to my question of whether to get her back.
Yes.
And believe it or not, PJ, I'm not nearly as upset as I would let on to be.
I didn't think you were.
It's good fodder for the podcast, and it was a hook to get people to listen to it this far.
Hopefully she continued to listen to the point.
Well, maybe she doesn't even listen at all. That's why it wasn't important enough to her to not sleep in. Right?
You're going right back.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm sorry.
You're going back to that Diet Dr. Pepper.
All right. So we will get Katie Tursick back if we can.
Yeah.
Right? If we haven't burnt the bridge.
Right.
If we haven't burnt the bridge, she'll come back. That's that deal?
That sounds good to me.
For you. All right. Before we quit the podcast for the day, I want to discuss something else that's been in the news. And I don't know if you heard about it or read about it, but what about the big ship that was blocking the Suez Canal?
Oh, Evergreen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
did you read about that?
No, it's since been dug out. And
2 days ago, I think on Monday, it was released from the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
All right. Now, did you see any photographs of it?
And I saw. Yeah, I saw photographs. I saw the one where you see the one bulldozer trying to dig it out.
Right.
One bulldozer.
Right. And when it's like if that picture was not doctored in any way, which I don't think it was.
Right. I mean, it could have been just the first bulldozer that got there and the rest hadn't yet.
Like the front end loader. It's like a backhoe.
Right.
Okay, so that thing, it looked like it was 1/50th of the size of this ship, right?
Yeah.
I think I read that the ship, if the Empire State Building was laid on its side, that the ship would still be like 30 yards longer or something like that.
Yeah, I heard that too.
And I made me feet or yards. And that the girth of it, though, is like bigger around than the Empire State Building. So I mean, that gives you some concept as to how large a vessel that was.
Yeah.
And,
or the width of the Suez Canal, too.
Well, I think I can't remember, but did you see some of the satellite imagery of? I guess I had never appreciated how long and narrow that Suez Canal is there. I mean, it's obviously it's wide enough for ships to pass because ships pass in the Suez Canal all the time.
Right.
But when you see it from like satellite pictures, how narrow it looks in that cut through there. But it, and then I guess, we always talk about the Suez Canal and how important it is, but this proved to us how important it was. I mean, it affected global markets. I didn't realize that the cargo ships that run, I guess, whatever the safe speed is, however many knots it is, but that if they go through the Suez Canal rather than going around the tip of Africa, right? Mm-hmm. That it is that is like 7.5 hours by going through, but it's 12.5 hours to go around. Okay,
right.
So you're saving 5 hours both ways, so that's 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
So, and the backlog of ships that were supposed to be going in there or through there was like, I think even like early it was like 250, and they were rerouting these ships and the cost.
I saw a photo with all the ships kind of backed up as they were trying to figure out what to do. And I mean, it was a massive
I'm
traffic
gonna miss
jam.
your birthday because my ship is stuck. Just shy of the Suez Canal because of Evergreen.
Now, there have been some hilarious memes and animated GIFs that have popped up.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I love about, if COVID taught us anything, it was how to find humor in some of these difficult things, right?
Here's the one thing I haven't looked into, and that probably should have been the first thing. How did it happen? That's what I can't figure out.
I have not read, I'm sure that the company, Evergreen is a Japanese-owned company, okay? Or at least, that's what I read. There were so many people who had some interest in that boat, but I think I think Evergreen is Japanese-owned, I believe. And, of course, they're not going to allow their captain, from a litigation standpoint, to make a public statement, okay?
Right.
Because that company is going to be sued for a lot of money because all of the delays and loss of business, and it's going to be a big deal. And so I'm sure they haven't left, but there were winds in that area that they said were like Cat 2 hurricane strength winds. And so it got in the wind, and with too much mass moving forward and
pushed it into the
shore.
Okay, because that's what I kept thinking. I'm like, how did it get so close to the shoreline that the tip of the is it the bow? Is that the front of the ship?
Bow is
or is that the back of the ship?
That's the back of the ship.
What's the front? The aft?
Stern.
Okay, what's the aft?
That's
like on
right
the side.
Or the left. Yeah.
Yeah.
After, I don't know.
We should bring Jim in here for that maritime.
I don't know all that stuff. Yeah, the maritime.
But anyway, I was just like looking at this photo, and I'm thinking, how did it hit the shore, and then the back of the boat just keeps going to where it blocks the rest of the? Yeah,
you had one job.
Right, exactly. That's what I kept thinking. And I know things happen. It's just kind of bizarre to me too that this has never happened before.
Right.
At least not that we're aware of.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
it reminded me of something that I learned in law school. By the time a hamburger reaches your mouth to eat, in a fast food restaurant,
right?
It's like some crazy number of laws and or regulations that have had to be complied with to get that to your mouth.
Right.
Like an enormous amount of laws in the thousands, okay? And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about there is like you have the laws that govern what can be fed to cattle in America, and then you have all the laws on what is beef that's been pasteurized and, taken all those requirements, right?
Right.
Then you have all the tax laws that affect the farmer that's doing that. And you have all of the, just crazy, right? Right. And then you have all the haulers, the people that are packing it, moving it, all the laws that affect that. And then you have the restaurant that gets it and everything that affects the restaurant and all the OSHA regulation, everything to get from baby cow to being a hamburger that you eat, okay?
Right.
And our professor told me that is like, that's why people say we live in a litigious society, but there's so many places that you can violate the law that it invites the enforcement of that, and whether it be civil or criminal or regulatory. And so that's why there's lawyers, and that's why there's a process, and that's
right.
And that really kind of brought things into perspective for me. Is like, wow, and so the very first thing I thought of when I saw the Evergreen boat stuck in the Suez Canal was, do you know how many laws are? And we're not talking about just the United States. We're talking about all around the world. Because these guys that had ships backed up and the people that had cargo on that. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you create widgets and you create them in India.
Okay.
All right. And I'm sitting here in Owensboro, Kentucky, and I decide I like your widgets and I want to buy 100,000 of them. And you say, I'm going to ship them to you. Right.
Right.
And so you stick them on a boat. And a part of our contract says, I'll agree to pay you X dollars for your widgets, but I have to have them by March the 1st or March the 15th or whatever.
Right.
March 15th comes and goes, and I don't have these widgets, but I have all these buyers in line to buy these widgets, right? And now the buyers are upset with me because I can't give them the widgets that I promised them because I don't have the widgets that you promised me. And so we have all these breaches of agreements. And then you mix in the fact that you're an India company and I'm a United States company. And how do I enforce that, through foreign negotiations and transactions? It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, did you see how many containers were on that boat?
Yeah, that was the thing that amazed me the most, is how many stacks of them there were.
Right.
How wide the stacks were and how long the stacks were.
So somewhere there was the sender, somewhere there was the receiver, and then there was the group of people that were affected by the receiver not receiving them.
Right.
And can you imagine just one container? And then when you have the people that are renting the container, let's say those containers are owned by me and I'm letting you use them to ship your stuff. I mean, I'm leasing them to you, and you say I'll have them returned to you by X date.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I've got 40 containers sitting on the Evergreen, and I don't have them. And I have them. Steve over here wants my containers for his next job, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm oversimplifying it to show the gravity of it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I heard the amount of money lost due to that was astronomical.
And who's going to pay for it? Every time there's a loss, like Evergreen is
Evergreen's about to go bankrupt.
Or people that had, there's going to be a lot of loss.
Yeah,
that's going to have to be recouped. And I'll tell you what, the
including
insurance,
the captain of that ship.
Yeah, that guy had a worse day than Katie Tursek did.
Oh, that's true.
Tursek, no shot.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap this up. Katie,
Sounds
you're welcome
good.
to come back.
I did have a real quick question.
Yeah.
Though, to go back to your hamburger law story. So, real quick, my question is, how many of those laws were put in place to prevent people from harm versus how many of those laws do you think were put in place due to people getting harmed? Like, how many people had to die from eating contaminated beef due to the lack of regulations that caused those laws to have to be put into place?
I don't know. But I do know that you are spot on. Policy, law like legislation or policy becomes an issue, becomes a thing based on both. One is something bad happened and we want to prevent it from happening again.
Right.
Or two, it's foreseeable that something bad could happen if we don't regulate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
now, do you find though that there has to be a catalyst somewhere usually?
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah, that's more. I mean, I would say that, you know, I'll give you an example. When I was a young lawyer, I worked for, as I've mentioned several times to you, an attorney named Charles Moore, who has recently retired, and he's a fantastic lawyer. And we had an ATV case, and in that ATV case, we used an expert, a guy named Bill Kitsis, and Bill was sort of a human factors type expert. In other words, how does the mind process perceived dangers and warnings? And so he's kind of like a warnings expert.
Right.
And have you ever seen on vending machines, it has a picture of this guy with the machine falling on top of it.
Yeah, the don't shake the machine.
It's orange, and it has a big thing that says, don't,
Yeah.
And basic. Okay, so Bill created that he was involved in a case where a machine had no warnings on it, nothing like that. A bag of Fritos or whatever it was, hangs in the wire dispenser.
Right.
Guy's got enough strength, he's going to shake on it to get his 75-cent bag of Fritos.
Shake it loose, yeah.
And it falls over on top of him, and I don't know if it killed him or it did significantly injured him.
He at least got hurt.
It was bad. It was enough to where
right.
There was litigation over it, and then after that, Bill was asked to design that warning sticker that's to this day on vending machines. Now, they probably have evolved over time in where they put them and how they put them and all things like that.
Yeah.
But that's an example. Because of a catastrophe, there was a requirement that you put
right.
Warning labels.
We've had this conversation before. Because of that warning label I saw on the inside of my oven door that showed someone sitting on it and the oven toppling forward on top of them because they used it as a seat. And I think that, as advanced and as far removed from Neanderthal as we like to think we are, there's still some people out there where you got to have this oven is not a seat warning because they're going to be really stupid.
I will go one better than that.
Oh, my gosh.
I sent a picture to Missy. I don't have my phone in here with me, but I sent a picture to Missy last week of a pizza box.
Yes.
On the lid of the pizza box, right where it kind of connects to make sure it doesn't open while you're carrying it, right? Where I guess the little tongue goes in the little...
Mm-hmm.
Right there, it says, open box before eating pizza.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been on this earth for 51 years, and I can say that I have never been tempted to eat the box.
Right.
Nor have I seen. And I've been in some pretty wild crowds.
Yeah.
But never seen a person eat the pizza. Have you seen someone eat the pizza box?
No. I've met some people that I consider to be really inept. I wouldn't even say that they were that inept. I don't know.
They would know to open the box before eating the pizza.
I think though, and this is just an assumption on my part, but there's probably, and we talked about mental illness on the last podcast, but somebody, obviously someone tried to eat a box with the pizza, and in some regard, maybe it was someone who wasn't all in their right mind.
Well,
because
there's we have to warn against? I guess you say you have to warn against stupidity, but that one is an all-time. I can see the one because when you pull open a stove and it's at that level, and you're at a party and somebody pulls the stove down and it's another place to sit to watch somebody do a beer keg stand or something, all right, I can see that you may sit on that. I can see that happening. Do I think it would happen at my house, or your house? No.
Right.
But I can see a situation where that may happen. But you would have to be on some hallucinogenic, powerhouse, mind-tripping drugs to consider opening your mouth and eating the box.
Yeah.
Let's just let that settle with our listeners as we wrap up this edition, a podcast of Law Lite. All right?
Sounds good.
Hey, I think this has been a great podcast that we had to come up with on the fly. Okay? And we look forward to having Katie Tursick back as a guest.
Katie, gonna show up.
Gonna show.
Tursick.
This has been Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtree, FWHlegal.com. Dedicated to you, committed to justice.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith and justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!